Okay, so when you picture the medieval world,
Right.
uh, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Like a walled city, cobblestones?
Yeah, winding streets, maybe,
Yeah.
and the smell, right?
Uh-huh.
We always think.
Ugh, yeah, sewage, grime, just, generally unclean. That's the stereotype we're fed.
That's the popular image, absolutely. And look, it was certainly true for many places during the Middle Ages, no doubt.
But that's not the whole story.
Not at all. Our sources today, they paint a totally different picture. We're looking at a medieval world that, well, if you walk through its big cities, it might have actually smelled of things like jasmine or
Ugh.
spices, maybe fresh soap,
Fine.
not filth.
Exactly. So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're digging into the sources that explain how these huge Islamic urban centers, cities like Córdoba in Spain, Fustat in Egypt, really impressive places, how they absolutely mastered public hygiene.
And water infrastructure, too. We're talking complex systems.
Centuries before many parts of Europe got anywhere close to those standards.
And what's really striking, I think, is how systematic it all was. This wasn't just, fancy plumbing for the palace or for the elites.
Right.
No, we're looking at citywide systems. I mean, picture 10th century Cordoba. It had advanced working infrastructure, running water in many places, underground sewers.
While at the same time, you've got contemporary towns in Europe struggling hugely with basic waste disposal.
Which, of course, just fueled disease outbreaks. Horrible ones.
That's the core difference we really want to unpack today. We're zeroing in on that period, roughly, 7th to 13th centuries?
That's the main time frame, yeah. The sort of golden age of urban development in many parts of the Islamic world.
And the key thing our sources keep pointing to is that these high hygiene standards weren't seen as some kind of luxury add-on.
No, they were a civic necessity, really integral to just everyday life for ordinary people.
It sounds like it was just deeply embedded in the culture.
Absolutely. The sources show this clear link, this synergy between religious ideas about purification and some incredibly sophisticated civil engineering.
Okay, so if cleanliness is that central, then the place to start has to be the public bath, right? The hammam.
Definitely. The hammam is key.
But I'm wondering, why the public bath? Why did that become such a cornerstone instead of, say, just encouraging people to wash at home? Was it about the infrastructure needed, or was the religious push so strong it demanded these big public structures?
Well, it's really a combination of both. But you could argue the religious aspect gave it the cultural momentum. That made the investment in infrastructure seem necessary, even vital.
So the religious requirement came first.
In a way, yes. Cleanliness, tahara, it's required before prayer in Islam. But then think about the logistics, the sheer scale of a large city. Even if every home had its own, trying to maintain really high standards of deep cleaning constantly for thousands of people, it's a nightmare.
Right. The hammam kind of centralizes and solves that problem.
Exactly. It provides a dedicated, well-equipped space.
And it wasn't just like a quick dip, was it? Tell us about the design the sources describe. These places sound quite elaborate.
Oh, they were.
Yeah.
Definitely not just a tub of water. They were designed very deliberately, usually as a sequence of rooms. You'd move through different temperatures.
Okay.
So typically a hot room, almost like a steam room, then a warm room for the actual washing and scrubbing, and finally a cool room to relax and, cool down before leaving.
A very structured process.
Yes, a structured approach to purification. And this is reinforced by teachings attributed to the Prophet Muhammad about cleanliness. It contrasts so sharply with what was happening in much of medieval Europe at the time.
How so?
Well, after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, that tradition of large-scale communal bathing largely disappeared in many areas. And sometimes hygiene itself was even viewed with suspicion.
Suspicion, really?
Yeah, there were periods where some believed frequent bathing could open the pores and let in disease, the bad air, or miasma. So the cultural attitude was just vastly different.
Okay, here's where it gets really fascinating for me, based on the sources. The hammam wasn't just about getting clean or socializing. It seems like it was also an early form of public health infrastructure.
Absolutely. That's a crucial point. Physicians were often involved with these places.
Involved how? Like checking people.
Sometimes, yeah, but also prescribing treatments. They might tell someone with, say, a respiratory illness to spend time in the steam bath. Plus, the attendants working there weren't just staff. They often had practical skills.
Like what?
Things like massage or even basic medical procedures common at the time, like cupping therapy.
Wow. So it's like a community health center and a social hub rolled into one?
Pretty much a space where hygiene, health, and social life all kind of blended together. And quite an integrated approach when you think about it.
Okay, so that covers the why, the cultural and religious drivers, and the what's, these amazing hammams. But now, the big question, the logistics.
Right, the engineering.
Yeah. If you have a massive city, like you mentioned 10th century Córdoba, reportedly over 300 public baths, I mean, just try to picture that density.
That's just staggering.
You need a constant, massive supply of clean water. How on earth did they manage that? How did they get that much water and deliver it reliably across the whole city?
Yeah, that problem. That required some serious engineering brainpower. What they did really well was take existing hydraulic knowledge ideas from earlier Roman and Persian engineers and then significantly improve and scale them up.
Okay.
They basically needed ways to do three things: move water over long distances, lift water up, and tap into underground water sources effectively.
And that brings us to these terms you sometimes hear, like norias and qanats. They can sound a bit technical, but they represent really clever solutions. Let's start with the qanat. What exactly was that?
The Qanat system is truly ingenious, especially for arid or semi-arid regions. Imagine long underground tunnels.
Tunnel.
Yeah, gently sloping tunnels, sometimes stretching for miles, designed to tap into groundwater sources like aquifers often found at the base of mountains. They'd carefully dig these channels to bring that fresh water all the way to the city.
Underground, though. Why underground?
That's the genius part. Keeping the channels underground did two critical things. First, it dramatically reduced water loss from evaporation, which is obviously a huge issue in hot climates.
Right, of course.
And second, it protected the water from surface contamination. Keeps it clean on its journey. Building them required incredible skill, mind you, getting that gentle slope just right over miles. That's precision work.
Wow. Okay, so qanats handle the long-distance transport and keep the water clean and cool. What about lifting it? That's where the nurias come in.
Exactly. Nurias are the water lifters. Picture large wooden water wheels, often with pots or buckets attached to the rim.
Okay, I can visualize that.
In places near rivers, like Fustat near the Nile, they could use the river's current to turn the wheel continuously. Or sometimes animal power was used. As the wheel turned, the buckets would scoop up water from the river,
Lift it up.
and then empty it into an aqueduct or a raised channel or cistern at the top. From there, gravity does the work.
Ah, okay. So the noria lifts it, then gravity distributes it through channels.
Precisely. Through elaborate channel systems that snaked through the city, feeding public fountains, mosques for ablutions, those hundreds of hammams, and even into the courtyards of private homes in some cases.
That scale of distribution reaching so many parts of the city that just feels light years ahead of what was happening elsewhere at the time.
It really was. Functional, widespread water access.
But clean water is only, what, half the public health equation? Maybe less. If you have 300 baths running daily plus all the household use, you're generating a ton of wastewater.
A massive amount.
And how they dealt with that, the sewage, the sources suggest this is where the difference becomes really stark, health-wise.
It absolutely is. This is arguably the biggest differentiator from many European cities of the era. While places like London or Paris often relied on open street gutters or just people throwing waste out.
Ugh. Inviting disease.
Totally. Perfect breeding grounds for cholera, typhoid, you name it. But cities like Córdoba, Fustat, Baghdad, they invested heavily. They built proper, dedicated underground sewer systems.
Underground? Made of what?
Often lined with stone or brick. These weren't just ditches. They were engineered channels designed specifically to carry human waste and used water away from homes and public areas quickly and efficiently.
Okay, but building them is one thing. How reliable were they? I mean, thinking about modern sewers, blockages are a nightmare. Did they face constant crises maintaining these systems in such big cities?
The sources suggest they were built with quite a bit of foresight. The lining, often smooth stone or masonry, helped the flow. But crucially, maintenance wasn't just an afterthought. Street cleaning was a recognized municipal job. There were systems in place for upkeep. And here's another clever part. They often didn't just dump the wastewater miles away.
What did they do with it?
Where possible, the outflow was strategically channeled to irrigate farmland outside the city walls.
Really? So turning waste into a resource.
Exactly. A kind of early circular economy thinking.
Yeah.
It addressed the disposal problem while also providing valuable fertilizer and water for agriculture. Very efficient.
So we've got the religious drive, the amazing engineering, but building all that is one thing. How did they sustain it? Keeping these huge systems running for centuries needs constant management and funding. How did that work?
Yeah, sustainability is key. It really came down to Strong institutional organization and a sense of civic responsibility. It wasn't just about a ruler deciding to build something grand. It was woven into the fabric of society.
And a big part of that structure involved these figures called mutasibs, right? Tell us about them. They sound like more than just market inspectors.
Oh, much more. The mutasib was a fascinating role. Think part market regulator, part public morality officer, and definitely part health inspector, all rolled into one.
How did they enforce health standards?
Well, their duties in the marketplace went way beyond just checking weights and measures, although they did that too. They were crucial for urban hygiene. We have sources describing how mutasibs would actively regulate potentially polluting businesses.
Like what kind of businesses?
Tanneries, slaughterhouses, dyeing workshops. Things that naturally create unpleasant or harmful waste. If one of these was set up too close to a source of drinking water, like a riverbank upstream from an intake or near a public fountain,
The mutasib would step in.
absolutely. They had the authority to levy fines or even compel the business to relocate entirely, often outside the city walls, to protect the public water supply.
Wow, that's proactive public health regulation right there in the government structure.
Exactly. Mandated and enforced. And they had a really powerful funding mechanism supporting all this public infrastructure, didn't they? The WAC system.
Ah, yes, the WAF. Explain that for us. How did it help maintain things like fountains and sewers?
The WAF, essentially a charitable endowment under Islamic law, was incredibly important for long-term sustainability. Providing clean water and maintaining public amenities were considered pious acts to charity.
So people would donate.
Yes, but often in a very structured way. An individual or a family might dedicate a piece of income-generating property, maybe a shop, an apartment building, or some farmland, and stipulate that the profits, the rent, must permanently be used for a specific charitable purpose.
Like maintaining a specific fountain.
Exactly. Or repairing a section of the sewer, or supporting the local mosque, or funding a hospital, or maintaining one of those hammams.
And why was that setup so stable?
Yeah.
More stable than, say, relying on fluctuating taxes or the whims of the current ruler.
Because the WAC was established under religious law, it gave the endowment a protected status. It was generally considered untouchable by political changes or seizures. The funds were legally and religiously bound to their stated purpose, generation after generation.
So it basically guaranteed a continuous stream of funding for essential public works. That's clever. It turns civic pride and religious duty into long-term financial stability.
Precisely. It embedded the maintenance of the city into its social and economic structure.
Let's step back and just think about the overall urban environment this created. It wasn't just about hidden pipes and drains, was it? This level of sophistication must have impacted daily life in other ways.
Oh, absolutely.
Huh.
Let's go back to Córdoba again, as it's often cited. The sources mention details that are pretty stunning because they were so rare elsewhere at the time.
Like what?
Well, we know Córdoba's streets weren't just dirt tracks. Many were paved. That alone was unusual for medieval Europe.
Okay, paved streets. Big improvement.
But get this, they were also lit. Regularly lit at night with oil lamps.
Lit streets in the 10th century.
Yes. Think about the level of public safety and convenience that implies. That kind of municipal service was basically unheard of in, say, London or Paris until centuries later.
That one detail just speaks volumes, doesn't it? It underscores this wasn't just about baths. It was a whole systematic commitment to a well-functioning, high-standard urban environment.
Really does. And that comparison, when you put the numbers side by side, it's just staggering. We mentioned Córdoba's 300-plus baths in the 10th century.
Yeah.
At the same time, major European capitals, London, Paris, maybe a handful of public baths, often quite basic and likely not well maintained. The scale is just completely different.
It wasn't an accident then. It was baked into the design, the governance, everything.
Absolutely fundamental. And you see the legacy, right?
Yeah.
When Christian kingdoms later conquered these cities, think of Toledo, Córdoba, Seville. They didn't just bulldoze everything.
Yeah.
No, they often inherited and used the existing infrastructure, those superior water systems, the
Yeah.
sewer networks. They were too valuable, too well-engineered to just discard. It's kind of a testament to their effectiveness, even to the conquerors.
Okay, so let's try to pull this all together. What we're seeing is this powerful combination. You've got one, a strong religious and cultural mandate for purity and cleanliness.
The foundation.
Two, Incredibly sophisticated engineering, adapting, improving, and deploying technologies like konatsunarias on a massive urban scale.
The technical know-how.
And three, robust civic management and financial systems like the mutasibs keeping things in check, and the Waqf endowments ensuring long-term funding and maintenance.
Right. The organization and sustainability. It's that fusion, those three things working together, that created this dramatically better public health environment compared to many other parts of the medieval world.
And you mentioned something earlier about jurisprudence, about law shaping the city.
Yes, that's a fascinating angle.
Yeah.
Islamic law itself contains specific practical rules about water purity, what constitutes clean water suitable for ablution, how to prevent contamination, rules about waste disposal. These weren't just abstract ideals, they directly influenced urban planning and building codes.
So the law literally shaped the physical layout and infrastructure of the city.
In many ways, yes. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? How often do our own deeply held beliefs, maybe about purity or order or community responsibility, subconsciously influence how we design our cities today, even if we don't explicitly label it as such?
That's a really provocative thought. It makes you realize that the functioning infrastructure we just expect now, turning on a tap, flushing a toilet, having clean streets, it's not a given.
Not at all.
It has a history. And a significant part of that history, the pioneering work, happened in these incredible medieval Islamic cities. They figured out how to make large-scale urban living healthy and orderly.
Indeed. So the next time you benefit from modern sanitation or public water systems, maybe give a little nod to the engineers, the planners, and the citizens of places like Fustat and Córdoba. Centuries ago, they were tackling these exact same problems and solving them on a truly monumental scale.